Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, the liberal loudmouth, and as always, I'm here with.
The real Ron. We're gonna take it. We're gonna take it up north and down south today because this one is about some Broken Arrow friends, and I know everybody out there is watching us, Tim, and Broken Arrow right now. I mean, we're a big deal, right?
Apparently so. Apparently we are, and we just like to let everybody know what's going on in the real world, give them information that they may not otherwise have, and give people the opportunity to be themselves. Wouldn't you say
Especially,
that's what we do?
absolutely, especially when it comes to real world issues like politics or schools or things that are really important to all of us in the community. I mean, hell, stuff that goes on in BA affects stuff in Owasso, it affects stuff in Tulsa. So we really try to keep y'all as informed as we can, but in a fun way, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've already got Lane. Lane's in the house. What's up, Lane?
Lane, you need to be
Uh,
studying and paying attention in class. I don't know what the hell.
He's going to get in trouble again.
Yeah.
So I want to let everybody know who's watching. You're welcome to be engaged in the comment section. If we see an interesting question or what have you, we can pull it up because we do have Shelley Gwartney coming in. I can go ahead and just pull her in, or did you have something else you wanted to say first, Ron?
If you're watching and you're watching, you're at like a luncheon or something, and you want to see us and you want to hear the questions and stuff, feel free to type in a comment or something, and we'll answer the question. But hold the phone up to your ear, Ron Smith, and just really don't try to bother the other people that you're at the luncheon with. Okay, that's all
That's
I'm here
right.
to say.
That's right. And don't talk with your mouth full. That's just rude.
Right,
All
right.
right. Without any further ado, I'd like to bring Shelley in. Hey, what's up, Shelley? How are you?
Doing fantastic.
What's going
Awesome.
on?
Awesome.
Right off the bat, I have to apologize to you because the other day I was doing your promo for the little teaser for the show, and I was completely messed it up. But I said Shelley Gwartney is a smoke show, but not in the physical way. She's the mom and the wife, and then
Oh my
I went
gosh.
to, I went to sleep, and I was like, I think I just said that Shelley was ugly, and
You did. You did.
so anyway,
I,
everybody can see
I
that you're
forgive
not.
you.
Okay,
It's okay.
thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having
We
me.
we appreciate it. Are you excited for the upcoming race? I mean, is that you
Oh,
you
are you in
I've
a
been
race?
excited
Are you in a
since
race?
I am in a
Oh,
little
okay.
little one for state senate. So I've been excited since early spring. I announced in April, and I've been doing something every day since then. It's a marathon, and you just do something every day.
That's awesome.
Were you born in Broken Arrow or Tulsa? Or I mean, can you give us a little bit of background? Not
Yes,
too
I
much,
was
but
born in Tulsa, born and bred Oklahoma. If you've heard my little spiel, I grew up like any Oklahoma girl, riding horses, hunting snakes, and chasing tornadoes. That was my awesome childhood. Tried to, impart that to my kids a little bit. Last year, you may have seen on Instagram a picture of all my family on the front porch with a bowl of popcorn looking at the sky. We're just watching the storms. We love storms. We love Oklahoma. Grew up here, right out of high school, got engaged, and my husband was in the Marine Corps. So we lived on both coasts, and he did a
good
tour
on
in
him.
Iraq. But we knew we were going to raise our family here in Oklahoma. So we moved back as soon as he got out, and then he joined the Air National Guard here in Oklahoma to continue his military career a little bit longer.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have to say I recently moved to Mississippi, and I'm already ready to go back to Oklahoma. So I feel you on that. Born and raised there in history. What is that?
he's
Um,
in. I'm sorry, I'm pulling up some comments
Oh,
here.
he's in history class.
Yeah, yeah.
Tina says hi. What's up, Tina?
What's
Thanks
up,
for
Hi,
Tina?
joining us.
Tina.
So, so what do you think? Because you ran for school board back in 2021, is there like what was the one thing that you took from that you think is helping you now?
One thing would be hard to choose
That
from.
is a hard question, Tim.
Okay,
Man, what
then
are you doing?
But it's
go
it's
with
a
a couple.
great opening question. I ran for that because there wasn't somebody who represented me as a conservative Christian Republican parent. And I knew there were other parents like me, but no one on the board was a safe person to go to. There was a Republican, but the board didn't respond to people, and other board members were taking emails sent from parents and sending it to their spouse that then sent it to the Tulsa World or other people who would use it against them on social media. So you quickly learned that you cannot go to the school board with any problems you have. And I said, I need to be that one person that people of any affiliation feel safe going to, and willing to ask the questions that no one on the school board was asking. So had a huge target on my
Uh-oh. I think we
It
lost you,
happens.
Shelley.
make sure I look
Yeah.
like the bad guy.
Yeah.
And from promoting my opponent on every school site to making sure the teachers had a narrative that wasn't true, to using racism against me. You know, how dare the white woman take the black man's seat? That was something I heard over and over again. When that's all they have against you, they have nothing on you.
Wow.
But, you know, I lost by 11 in the primary to him. And if there hadn't been that second Republican, I know it's nonpartisan, but we had that third person jump in last minute, and he is a good personal friend of the superintendent. And those things happen on purpose. Somebody gets in to pull votes, and he pulled 99 votes. So I would have won it outright, and we wouldn't have to go to a runoff or anything if he wasn't in there. But
Thank you, guy that's not going to be mentioned.
Yeah. But I trust God with any outcome. I had peace either way. I knew it was going to be just a battlefield if I got on there. You know, either way, it wasn't going to be easy. The doors that opened after that were immediate and surprising and unbelievable. And they all lined up with my passions and were things I could have never got for myself. You know, I'm on the board of Moms for Liberty Tulsa. I know you guys aren't huge fans, but also I'm a Senate district captain for OKHPR. So that's Oklahomans for Health and Parental Rights.
I do love that
And then
group.
actually, while I was running for school board, I got plugged in with the amazing people that were starting Tulsa Classical Academy. So I was on their development committee the whole time I ran for school board, because I knew even if I got on the Union Public School Board, Tulsa needed this school. So it was worth investing my time in. So the very first development committee was me and two of the current board members. And we worked on capital funds and brainstorming. And then I've had different roles in there in the past 2 years. And that is, I think Tulsa Classical is one of the things that when I look back in my life is going to be top 10 things I'm proud of.
Okay. You're talking way too much.
Sorry.
No, she's fine. Is that like a charter school? Tulsa
It is. It's
Classical?
Oklahoma's first and only tuition-free public charter school that teaches classical education.
Isn't
Okay.
that the? Hang on, I'm not trying to be controversial, but isn't that the school that Ryan's getting in trouble for sending the money to or whatever? Or the left
Are you
is
talking
like
about
the left is like
Catholic charter school?
oh, is that not the same thing? I guess.
No.
Okay.
That's a virtual Catholic charter school, as far as I understand.
Gotcha.
I got two really quick questions, Tim, and I'm sorry. I'm
go for
I'm gonna
it.
lose them if I don't say it.
This is a good segue into other things we were
Right.
talking about. Go ahead.
I want to ask you. This is a two-part question. Having ran for school board and seeing the voter turnout that was so dismal, what are your plans or goals into? Do you agree with changing those elections to the general and getting more voter engagement, or do you see a problem with that? And the second thing is, how do you feel about public tax money going to the Catholic virtual charter school thing?
Absolutely, the date needs to be changed. It is set up that way so that it can't get certain people in. I was shocked that we had two different bills from the Senate and the House side that didn't pass this past year. I'm proud of Allie for coming out as a freshman legislator and putting that up there. Can't believe it didn't pass. I'm curious about the forces behind that. I hope to see it again push this year. And if it's not done by then I'll push it when I get in there the next year. Absolutely, it gets more people involved. The only thing I heard was it'll make the races more expensive. Well, hell, they're already expensive. Like Tim Harris, Jared Buswell, they'll tell you they raised $60,000, $70,000 for an unpaid school board.
We're a school board. Are you serious?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah, it all changed after COVID. You know, when I ran, the lady who ran the year before me, she raised $2,000 and didn't even need it all. I raised $14,000, needed every penny of it, and then it just skyrocketed from there because the teachers unions got involved, and everybody interested in that seat got involved, and now it's very expensive and super hard. I've heard it's the most contentious race you can run for is school board. And so far, I've seen that to be true. So it saves the city money. We're not paying for an additional day unless there's a bond package or something. Sometimes it's the only thing on the ballot that day.
Right.
So we're paying people at every precinct, we're paying them all day, and printing the ballots. I mean, we can save money and you get more people involved. So I don't see why we wouldn't change it. And I think, the only people against it are the people who want to keep the status quo in schools.
Right. I actually posted a Twitter tweet the other day because I was reading this article that now the average is like $20,000 to $60,000 for the school board races, and I'm like, for those that are arguing that dark money is the reason you don't want more participation, I call BS on that because it's already being pushed in there. Like, if dark money wanted to get in the school board races, it's going to happen regardless of when it is. So that's wild. And well, the segue that I was thinking of was the PragerU stuff, because that's kind of going around the internet right now. Can you speak to that at all? You know what I'm referencing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Ryan Walters' push for PragerU. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I didn't realize we were the first state to bring that partnership into our schools. I think it's a great thing. I know you guys appreciate hearing things from both sides of the aisle.
Spit it out.
I know that the biggest misconception to fix right off the bat is that this is a supplemental thing. And up until now and continuing on until it's changed, supplemental things in most districts don't even have to be approved by a site principal. They're at the teacher's discretion to use or not use. This is not curriculum. There is a long process to get it as curriculum. Long process. So it's supplementary. Teachers can use anything. Like you've heard, they currently use CNN. I've seen it in my kids' classroom. Mm-hmm. They can use any source of sexual education. This is a conservative bent, of course, that most teachers may not choose to use. And again, within PragerU, how many videos are we talking about? So many videos on so many topics. There are some videos that are heavy on a Christian emphasis that may not work in some classrooms, and the teacher should have discretion. And if a principal wants to require that any PragerU video goes through her or him, they do have that ability, as far as I understand, to require that at their school site. It is very locally controlled. But I am glad that they have the opportunity. I have talked to many teachers that use it from just for the history, for it's engaging. They're well-made videos. And right. So I'm glad it's not coming from a, funded news source like CNN. It's people that are doing it because their heart is for kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There are some interesting videos that PragerU puts out, and they do it in a very subtle way, in my view. Coming as a liberal, I watch some of these and roll my eyes, and I just wish we could just, without any bend whatsoever, because history shouldn't be political. That's my view, but I see what you're saying, and I wanted to point something out because you were talking about the curriculum and that teachers use various things that whatever they can use to help them, and I'm all on board with that. But a lot of teachers now are buying online. They're buying like homework assignments and all of these various things. So a lot of teachers don't prepare this stuff anymore, which is, I don't know, that seems weird to me that you would buy from some random website online.
I think it's horseshit. I think we need to go back to textbooks and pencils and paper, and the teachers teach out of a textbook, and throw all these devices away and just go back to the American way.
So that's what we do at Tulsa Classical. They don't do their homework on iPads or devices. They use paper and pencil.
Good on y'all.
I'm all about that. At post-COVID, they just started shoving these screens into these kids' faces, and I'm like, look, if you're writing something down, like you're getting, not only are you hearing it or seeing it, but now you're actually interacting with what it is you're talking about. That's just reinforcing those things, and now you're staring at a screen all day. I hate it.
Point out one thing. that the teachers are so bogged down with
Truth.
requirements. It is almost an impossible job to get everything done that they have to get done with assessing each child. It almost feels like it's a weekly assessment. So they don't have a lot of time. And so with the devices, that's become a necessity to just keep up with the demand of what they have to get done. And
Right.
that's the classrooms aren't going to get better until we remove some of those restrictions and let teachers teach.
Yes. Yeah, because they're like these are the professionals that we've hired to do this thing. Let them do what they have expertise in doing, which is teaching, instead of like you've got to do it this way and that way. I don't know. It seems Ron. What are your thoughts on that?
I already told you my thoughts. I think the devices need to go. We grew up reading out of textbooks and doing homework on pen and paper, and hell, half the kids today don't even know what cursive writing is.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's making me sad. Can you pull up Lane's
I
last?
I was I would I have my finger over that to
Okay,
put it
okay,
up.
okay.
It's probably the most important question we'll
Yeah,
get this week.
yeah.
Lane asks, "Do you believe in aliens?"
You paid him to ask that. I know
I
you
did.
did.
We did. We didn't even have a conversation with
Yeah,
it
it's
beforehand.
funny. Yeah, it's funny.
It is funny. I'll start this one off by saying I believe that aliens do exist. I believe that it's more likely than not that somewhere out there is intelligent life. That's my thought.
I'm gonna withhold my answer until Shelley says something.
Okay, so I think I watched most of the video where you talked about your confusing Galactic Federation, alien god, this
Right.
alien
Mine that must have
Satan
been
that created
that
God
must
to
have been
create us.
Tim, right?
It was
Yes,
me. Yeah,
Tim.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's not me.
Oh my gosh. I was very curious, and yes, there is a whole group of people that believe that, and so I got a little education on that. I haven't seen enough proof to say that some hyper intelligent life force has visited our planet and not taken us over,
Right.
taking control. But the term aliens, um, from my
Wow, this is
background,
such a
believing the
political answer.
Bible, I do believe that when you compare the Nephilim of the Bible with aliens, there are correlations, and from size descriptions to when they existed to what they did while they were here. Um, and then you get into the theories of when the rapture happens, the government will need an excuse, and the excuse will probably be aliens. So in that sense, I believe in aliens.
Okay, what
Okay.
you
I
just
like
said,
that. No, I
what you
like
just
that.
said, what you just said reminded me of what you just said about Tim's.
It's there's a correlation. Yes, what she's talking about, and
It did make me think these two are parallel to each other.
to
Yes.
anybody that it doesn't know what kind of I was referring to and what she was referring to, what I said, there's this group. Really, it's a cult because they think that God has actually or Jesus has come back. The Ecumenical Order of Christ is the name of this. Essentially, it's a cult because they're following one person, but their history of things is wild. I mean, I
You're
don't.
gonna get Riley Flack all over me again.
Yeah, I don't believe it. I'm just saying it's. I love learning about different things, and that's just a thing that we're dealing with now. So it's kind of neat. I
I
do
still
want
love you. I still love you, Riley, too. I still love Riley.
to. I want to pull up a comment from Carolyn. She says, "I do believe teachers should have some restrictions removed. However, there should be some guidelines or oversight or divisive ideologies get into the classrooms." Yeah,
Divisive.
yeah, divisive, tomato, tomato. I
Is it? I
agree.
thought they're two different words.
No, no, no.
I'm
It's just
sorry,
a
I'm ignorant.
No, 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 no.
That's a great comment, Carolyn. Good job. Thanks
Yeah,
for watching too.
I mean, what do you think of that, Shelley? I mean,
Curious what school boards have in their school board policies. I feel like that should be covered somewhere. maybe it's
Yeah.
under curriculum, maybe it's not covered enough. And it is site by site. When we've brought
Yeah.
up different really controversial issues, the answer has always been it is a site by site basis. You have to talk to your principal. So unless it's a topic
Right.
like bullying, even curriculum can be site by site in some instances. So yeah, you can ask your principal, what policies do you have in place when it comes to certain controversial topics? And I would list it out. You have to be very plain and be very specific about what you're asking for. What sexual ed curriculum do you use? What, when you talk about this history, when you talk about this, when you talk about world religions, what examples do you pull from? What stories of Muhammad, what stories of Jesus, what stories of whatever do you share with the class? And yes, they will hate you for it, but be very specific in what you ask for.
We've
Yeah.
got several comments coming in because
Yeah.
people are starting to watch because they love me. So let's move it along here, people.
Well,
Let's stay-
I wanted to point out because a lot of people, back when I was on Owasso, dealing with that whole thing, people thought I hated teachers, but I want to make clear that there is quite a separation between the administration and the teachers, and it is often, and not even the board that does these things, it's the administration of the schools themselves that
Right.
put in these roadblocks that are causing teachers to have to feel like they're walking on eggshells constantly.
I can't imagine. I believe, yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's a problem. So I'll start with Ken Crandall here. Since we have so many, we'll just put them up. We need a wall between Tulsa and BA. Tulsa has become ultra liberal. Feelings on continuing to build vertical inside BA city limits. Feelings on Second Amendment rights. Scale 1 to 10, 10 being absolute. So I think these are questions for you. Do you want to go ahead, Ron?
These are questions for Shelley, obviously, because nobody gives a shit what I say. But if we built a wall between Tulsa and BA and kept the liberals out, who the hell would we tell we're wrong and ignorant?
That's a great point. That's a great point. I'm not about.
Shelley, go. Yeah.
I'm not. Go ahead. Yeah.
Did we lose her?
Oh, I think we lost you, Shelley. We're
She'll be
gonna get you back.
She'll be back in a second.
Hopefully.
That's a great picture of her, though. It's just stuck with her.
It is. Isn't that a great smile?
It is a great smile.
Let's
really,
see.
I mean, you can't just build a wall and keep your fellow Americans out, Ken. I agree with what you're saying. Liberals can be really ignorant about stuff, but so can Republicans or conservatives.
Can you leave and come back? I'm texting her so she knows to.
That was such a political answer she gave about the aliens.
Oh, I loved it, though. I thought it was actually, she tied it in with the religion really well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and pull her out and have her come back in. It looks like her device
Tina
got
always
disconnected.
bringing up Kaiser, man.
Because of Kaiser. Oh, here we go.
We said
There
the
you
wrong
are.
things.
Oh, man. It's Joe Biden is watching us.
Man, I got Facebook censored for the first time this week, and it was a weird feeling. And so now it's like happening again.
Oh, man.
You'll be a pro in no time.
Shoot. They banned me for 6 months once. I thought my life had ended.
Wow.
Okay.
It was bad, yeah.
Yeah, but thankfully, like, what was it, a month in, they undid it. So let me put this back up on the screen. This is what we were on. Address of that, what you would like.
Okay. I don't know how long I talked after our screen went out. So
Yeah.
I don't think this is saying build a wall between Tulsa and BA. When he's talking about building vertically inside BA continues to explode in population for good reasons.
Yeah.
But having a hard time keeping up with it. Michael Spurgeon, our city manager, is a rock star, but we are seeing some really bad effects on our schools. We don't have this space for these kiddos, especially middle school grades. So that is a question for your city council. That's not something I would legislate from a statewide, telling BA they can't grow vertically. That is something that the city has control on, but absolutely something to consistently bring up to your city council and your city manager. Remember, the city council is like a school board. They hire and fire the city manager. The city manager does all the operations. But yes, what is happening in Tulsa is very concerning. and whatever happens in Tulsa will quickly, and some of it already is, spreading out to the surrounding cities. And unfortunately, we're not seeing a whole lot of pushback from certain groups, especially conservative groups that we would like to see more pushback on. The smart cities are already here, and I've seen part of it be accepted by the VA City Council, which is very concerning. Absolutely, that's something from, if I have any say on a statewide platform, we have to keep the smart cities out. Tulsa is in bed with Kaiser, in bed with Soros, in bed with all these people that it's already here. It's going to be very hard to stop, but we have to fight against it and put up any roadblocks we can. Anything to protect the cities that it's not already in. It is a push for socialism, communism. It may look and sound helpful, but it is not a path we want to go down at all. Same thing with the land grabs. That is all going to start in Tulsa and Oklahoma City and quickly spread out. So I resonate with that sentiment of, can we please protect our Broken Arrow, our sweet Broken Arrow, from the policies of Tulsa? And the best way to do that is get involved.
Are you reading that? What you just said, are you reading it? Because you're very articulate if you didn't read that.
I was reading this comment, but no.
Oh, okay.
So he asked one question. If you want to touch on a little bit your feelings on the Second Amendment rights, scale 1 to 10.
Well, I'm not sure what scale. There's a lot that happens within 2A rights. Did have an interesting thing this morning. The Second Amendment shall not be infringed. That is pretty clear. You have the right to keep and bear arms. That means anywhere, everywhere, without restriction, as far as we are translating it currently. Some people say any gun restriction is unconstitutional. And the way that we're reading it now, that seems to be true. But as I've been knocking doors for the past several months, I met a family. Their daughter was killed in the St. Francis shooting here recently. And they invited me in, gave me water, and we talked and cried for 40 minutes in their front room. And, I looked at them with my heart broken that they want to talk gun reform with Republicans. And I said, there is slim chance of gun reform in Oklahoma, but I will talk to anybody about anything. Let's brainstorm anything we can possibly think of.
I love that.
Can we look at doing a deep dive into St. Francis Hospital? Where were the safety precautions? Where were the locked doors? Where was the armed guard? Where were cameras? Same thing with schools. What can we do better on? If we can't regulate people's rights, which we don't want to do that, we shouldn't do that.
Can't do it.
What can we do? Where can we strengthen things? Can you incentivize, which I don't like giving grants and money, but can you incentivize schools and hospitals who say they can't pay for it? How can we get them to up their safety protocols? And so this morning, that couple asked me weeks ago, will you sit down with us and talk gun reform? And I said, I will sit down and I will talk and I will listen with you. So that was today. That was this morning at 9 a.m. We sat for an hour and a half and they cried. It's less than 2 years old for them. I think it'll probably be raw for a long, long time. Their daughter was amazing. She was a doctor at St. Francis, internal medicine, pediatrics, held people's feet to the fire, got stuff done. The mom gave me a bracelet that says, be like Steph, be brave, stand up for what you believe in. Protect. I know, not going to cry. Protect the vulnerable. And she did. She died protecting people.
Doing her job.
To protect the vulnerable.
Gosh.
And that's like people in hospitals, people in schools. Those are vulnerable populations that can't protect themselves. So they had a crash course in how legislation works in our state and how it is very much a barter system. Legislators give and take. I'll give you this if you give me that. One thing that really stood out to me is when the St. Francis shooting happened, they said no one from the Capitol reached out to them. Not a single person. And I'm thinking, well, surely the the governor,
Nathan Dahm,
their
didn't he?
senator, Nathan Dahm, like they have like, do they have like a pre-written condolence letter that they can edit and send to people that they care about their constituents? I guess not, or maybe for certain
Wow.
things, I don't know.
That's wild.
So that really hurt them, and they even sound like they questioned if they wanted to stay with the Republican Party based on that.
Mm.
The only people willing to sit down and even just listen were Democrats, and they cried with them and hugged them. They said the only person that reached out after that was actually Mayor Bynum of Tulsa. So we
Well,
talked,
that makes
and
sense because he's actually probably a Democrat. But go ahead.
yeah. But at least somebody did. But they've gone up to the Capitol so many times. They sent 23 letters,
Wow.
and they shared examples of how, other rights are regulated, not restricted, but regulated with waiting periods, driver's license, for an example. And then we also talked pretty heavily about ways to improve schools and hospitals. But they just really appreciate. They couldn't believe I spent an hour and a half of my morning just listening to them crying at the end. I was like, can I pray with you? I was like, I'm going to try to not cry, but we cried a little bit. And we just prayed for direction and discernment. And I know this is not what they envisioned their second half of their life being all about. But like we've seen time and time again, some bills get written. Haley's Law, Jessica's Law, all these different things. They happen because some tragic thing happened in one family's life, and it was very real to them. And they try to make it real to other people because people won't move if it's not real to them, right?
That's
If it doesn't
truth.
affect
That's
them.
the truth.
So these people go and they're super vocal, super loud. They talk to everybody that will listen. They do press conferences. They spend so much of their own money to get the message out. And then maybe they finally get some legislation passed. And that may be what's on the future for them. But I just wanted to encourage them and love on them. And it was so great to hear their perspective. And all I can say is I didn't make any promises. I can't make any promises. But what I can say is I will always try to hear both sides of every situation.
I want to hear, first of all, God love that family.
Yeah.
And
And
stuff.
I thank you for sitting with them when
Yeah.
nobody else would.
And there were 3
That's-
others killed that day, I believe, as well. Just it was an unnecessary, just tragic. Thank you for sitting with those people and hearing and being willing to discuss something that you may be against or whatever, disagree with or whatever.
Right.
But you
and
sit
may
down
not
and have
be
a conversation.
politically expedient to even have that discussion. So, I mean, that takes courage, in my opinion.
Good on that.
So, thank you.
Here's another one I wanted to put up. Let's put the 10 Commandments up in our schools.
Lane, get back to history class, buddy. What are you doing?
He's teaching me some history in the comments over here. What?
Yeah, Lane coming in with all the hard questions, huh?
Yeah, you've heard. I'm sure we've known each other for years, and this is Shelley's running for Nathan Dahm's seat. Nathan Dahm is termed out, I believe, is the reason he's not running again. He's been there. He's the most conservative senator, I believe, on record ever. And he doesn't get a lot of bills passed because of that. He's very uncompromising with his beliefs and values and things like that.
Right.
Good on him. But you've heard me say that I don't think that the 10 Commandments belong in schools, and people are like, a conservative Republican doesn't think religion. No, I love Jesus anymore just as much as anybody else. I'm just saying that when you add the 10 Commandments or God or anything, any religion of any sort as an indoctrinating issue into public schools, then you have to in America allow the opposition into schools. And I don't want the opposition in there. So what is your take on the 10 Commandments in public schools?
I have heard hate for anybody that doesn't go along with yes, absolutely, it has to be in schools. Now we're talking about public schools. In other schools, they
Right.
have the right to do that. So publicly funded schools, I don't feel like it's my opinion. It's what does our Constitution say about it? What do our founding documents say about it? As far as I understand, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. So what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it means that they can't respect any one religion. over another.
Well, it means you can't establish one religion within federally funded programs.
Right. Yeah.
which means you cannot allow the Ten Commandments in there unless you're going. You can't do that for any religion, correct?
So
Right. That I mean
maybe
that's how I see it.
it and somehow not be establishing a religion in that school, maybe.
Okay.
But then, do you have the Quran up there? Do you have the Jewish Torah pieces
Right.
of that up there?
Do you have a book with a goat on it saying we want to kill babies and
So that is a huge thing because the movement of the Satanists and Baphomet, they are doing after school programs, which is very confusing because how are you allowing that? But then, like at Union, we're not allowed to do see you at the pole. Of course, that Satanist club was not in Oklahoma. I don't know if it was Michigan or Wisconsin or somewhere like that. But we are seeing these programs come about, and it's the same thing. Like, oh, no, we're not going to have a sponsored religious organization unless you have other ones. But then they say, well, the other groups aren't offering anything. So this is the only one offering it.
See, that's interesting to me because like schools, I have no issue with there being like Christian clubs where the kids come together and make a club, and whether it's before class or after school, that doesn't bother me at all, and it kind of goes into the whole pay gap myth that Democrats like to throw out there, as if women are so far behind dollar wise when they don't take into consideration that generally women go into things that don't pay as much, just like nursing versus doctor, that sort of thing. So if you don't have clubs that are being created because there's no students that want to create that club, then of course you'll only have like the Christian version of it, because it's Oklahoma's got
I take
like
issue with that
80%.
because these clubs, like what is FCCLA or whatever, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, the FC, I don't have a problem with that being the students doing that, but then you have to have a sponsor that does these clubs, and you're paying the sponsor with taxpayer money, so therefore the taxpayers are paying for this club. I take issue with that.
That's a fair
Sponsors
point.
get paid.
Yeah, I think that's something that they can choose to do or not do. I don't know that they get a stipend for it, directly. And but you do bring up a good point, because let's say, for example, there's a teacher who is willing to sponsor the Christian version, but they can't find a teacher willing to sponsor like the Wiccan version. So then you're running into some discrimination as well, which could, I think, in the court could throw out the one if they can't allow the other.
So
But
that's like what we have at Union Public Schools. We don't have in the high school, we don't have a Republican club, conservative club, or a Christian club. But we do have the Socialist Democrats, the Gay Straight Alliance Club, and the Muslim Club.
wow, is that so? Have they not allowed the other clubs, or is that just a matter of there was nobody that formed them?
I know the answer to that.
Because that's wild to me, even in Oklahoma, especially that there's
Owasso has the same thing. They have the Democratic Socialist Club too. Did you know that, Tim?
I didn't, but I know they have Christian clubs.
Right.
Also.
They have the Democratic Socialist Club, the Young Democrats. The reason that I was told that we didn't have the Republicans or Young Conservatives is because everybody that goes to school there is already Republican conservative. It's just one huge club.
Well, that is weird, but then again, we come down to, is there a student who is asking a teacher to sponsor it and then a teacher not sponsoring it? That's where I come into a problem. Where
I have no idea. I assume that because the culture and the schools that I'm familiar with, that would definitely be against the culture, and any student doing that, like the brave Lane Brown and Madeline East, they would have a target on their back.
That's crazy. To me.
He does.
Especially in Oklahoma, it's like what's 80% Christian or 75 or something. That's wild.
You can throw a rock and hit a Republican walking down the street.
Now, and look to everybody watching. I'm an atheist, and totally in favor of allowing kids to have clubs in school that go to their religion. Why is that? That shouldn't be an issue to anybody.
I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. I guess I'm the minority. I don't want pub. That's not. I'm gonna get on a soapbox. I'll just say this: public schools was not an intended indoctrination site of any type. We send our kids to public schools to learn to read, write, do arithmetic, learn about science and factual history, and that should be it. Shit, what? What?
So
Am I
you're
missing?
saying no religious clubs, even when the kids are the ones starting it. That's your
No, they can
take.
start it after school. Go party after school.
Oh, you
Go
mean
talk
like
about politics or whatever after school, before school. But when you're in school, you're there for a specific reason.
I mean, I think that's fair too. I think that's
Yeah, and all
fair.
these clubs, as far as I know, they are after school.
Right.
That's
Right.
fine.
But
That's
they
America.
would be protected under the First Amendment, the freedom to assemble and to exercise your religion and your speech and gather together. So
Right.
I have to assume it comes down to, hey, that's what it says. Don't get mad at me. So it would come down to
Hey,
having a
if you're
teacher
still eating your mom and dad's food and you don't pay a light bill, you don't. I mean, your First Amendment, you can piss off with that.
That's funny. All right.
I'm joking.
We can move on to that. So BA is the fourth largest city in Oklahoma still? I think it is. I think
Ed.
it is. I think we looked that up.
Shelly, you don't even know your city. What are you
I
doing?
don't know every other
Well,
city. Oh my
So,
goodness.
so,
No, this is something Tim and I had
so
to look
well,
up quick.
somebody had said that technically it's third, but they use, I don't know. Not
Yeah,
that it matters at all.
Norman uses OU student enrollment or something.
Oh, okay.
So, that's crazy. I'm still stuck on the ecumenical order of Christ.
I know. I can tell it
Yeah,
in your eyes. I'm
ever
trying to
si-
get you out of it. I don't
Ever
know
since
what-
it got brought up, that's all I can think about. It's like, man, I want to go read that because they've got this book that tells this story, and I'm like, man, somebody needs to turn this into like a full feature movie.
Okay, we're gonna move on here. Talk to Don Spencer. Okay, 2A. Ken Crandall. You and I would probably drink a beer together really well. And I've met Don Spencer. Shelley, do you know Don? You know Don.
I do. He's very supportive of my campaign. We've talked
Don,
many
yeah,
times.
Don endorsed me for Tulsa County GOP chairman, actually, and or OK2A endorsed me, but I love Don. Don's very. He actually came out. What was that the other day, Tim? We were going back and forth with Don on.
It was the Scott Pressler, yeah,
Scott Pressler,
yeah. Scott Pressler, because they
And I agreed with Don on that. How can the GOP, whose platform says that you can't marry another man, invite a openly homosexual man in to teach somebody how to? I love
Get
Scott
out the
Pressler.
vote.
I love his hair. I love his boots. I don't like the way he talks because I think it's fake, but that's just me. But he does have some great ideas on how to win elections. I didn't think it was a bad idea bringing him in. I just thought it was very hypocritical.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but what do you think of that whole thing? I mean, because I understand both sides of it, but I mean, I think Ron makes decent points also.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is a solid point when your platform says this is what you're firmly against. And I
Yeah.
get Don's question wasn't so much, he wasn't hating on this brilliant activist. It was, is he the best you can find? Is he the only person you can find? So it was a fair question, and they should be able to defend that. And then also maybe explain, well, if the platform says this, where is that actually applicable to, if not in training all of your activists? I also know, like Moms for Liberty, in our work, we've partnered with Gays Against Groomers. They've been amazing because both of us have a heart for leave the kids' bodies alone, right? We have to
Yeah.
protect children, get them through puberty, and then they can decide to do whatever they want to do. But having this group, and I've had some pushback from some church leaders when I tell them about that, and they're like, why would you partner with them? And I said, because they're brave enough to be vocal. like, I don't know any pastor, or I haven't heard them yet, that will be vocal from the pulpit about even protecting kids in this matter. We just can't talk about the trans cult. Like, we can't talk about that. But Gays Against Groomer talked at Moms for Liberty's conference, and they're doing the work. They're putting their necks out there. They're getting all the hate as well, from their own community. And thankfully, that community is kind of fracturing between the LGB and the QT, heavy area. But when you are fighting a cause that is protecting our youth, I am willing to talk to anybody about it.
I love that.
I think that's a good differentiation where Scott Pressler wasn't necessarily fighting directly for something that he saw as a problem, because, the Republican platform is a little against his lifestyle per se, whereas
little
like
against.
the Gays Against, what did you call it? What was it?
Groomers.
Yeah, Gays Against Groomers have a very specific purpose where they're like, look, we don't need to be doing this stuff. Same thing with me, where Moms for Liberty and I also agree, is that graphic sexual images don't belong in school. I still to this day don't understand the hatred I receive from liberals who think that we should just, well, this is how life goes.
Tim,
they're
how
going
do
to
you
learn the truth either way.
Tim, how can you be an atheist and not follow Christ and want pornography out of schools? I don't understand that.
Don't get me started. I had a guy, actually, I don't know if you've heard this story, Shelley, but I had a guy who was genuinely shocked that I went after, like, pornographic material in school, and I'm an atheist. He's like, how does that, why are you against that if you're an atheist?
Like
What?
Tim can't
Like,
Tim
what
can't
is
have
that?
morals if he's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
It blew me away. I was like, are we really having this conversation right now? I mean, I guess I understood what he was saying, but which actually brings me to another point, and maybe you could agree or not. That is, instead of the Ten Commandments, you can take the bits and pieces that are, morality based and put them in a different format and have those in there, which I think they already do, because things like character, goal setting, those things are put in the schools where, like, this week's, saying, yeah, and they kind of already do that.
Have y'all ever read
it's
the
not
Bible?
religious.
You cannot change the wording of the Bible.
Oh, that's true. Well, the NIV did it.
Whatever.
So when I grew up in Union, we had character counts every month, and you got a certificate if you were the student that showed respect, trustworthy, citizenship, whatever it was that month. My elementary school did away with that. I've been told it's a site-by-site thing and not a district-wide thing. It just comes down to the principal if they want to implement it or not. But like at TCA, we have 10 core virtues that are on the wall of every classroom, and they don't have a Bible verse associated with them, but it is prudence, wisdom, wonder, friendship, citizenship. We have 10. And anything that we do or we study has to go along with one of those 10. If it doesn't belong in our school. So that's one way to bring virtue in, but it's not quoting the Bible per se.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what I was talking about. You kind of like take the things that you get from the Bible, because I don't think anybody's going to be stoning women because they found, the husband found out she wasn't a virgin on her, on their wedding night.
Oh my God, Tim, why do you have to be so controversial all the time?
Every time I bring that up, somebody's like, yeah, but that's in the Old Testament.
It's like I'm talking to David Oldham or something. Right. Listen, here's the thing. You said that you were available till 1:30. We're running up on like 10 minutes, 12 minutes. You can stay as long as you want, because I'm really enjoying this conversation. I can't believe how many people we actually have watching right now at 1:30 in the afternoon.
I can believe it.
I mean, we are pretty cool, but it might have something to do with the smoke show that's on here as well. But I have to say this. I have to ask you 2 more questions, and then I'll be done, except for, witty banter. Who is your favorite or your mentor or somebody you look up to in a political office that you want to be like, or, who is that person? And do you believe that you should beat, tase, mace little French bulldogs that are scared shitless?
Oh
Those,
my
those are just
gosh.
those are just some hard hitting questions I have for you.
I was gonna look up. Um, I have my quote, and I don't know where I saved it now.
Lane,
Well, I'll give you a moment to find that. I want to
Yeah.
put Rachel's comment up.
what's Rachel got to say? Who is? Thanks,
This
Rachel. I
is-
think this is the.
This is the yes, the new person. Very nice example to others in this world in how to have a conversation with people who may not believe the same things
Oh,
you
thank
believe.
you, Rachel.
I appreciate that, Rachel, and that's really the point of our show.
And
That's what
Shelley,
we're trying
Rachel
to
is
do.
from Michigan,
Michigan or Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, maybe.
It's
yeah.
somewhere about
She's
there.
she's a Yankee.
So all my family is from Wisconsin and Minnesota, so sometimes the accent comes out.
Minnesota.
I heard it. I heard it.
Yeah,
I heard
yeah.
it. Well, then
I try to not hang out with them so it doesn't get on me too much.
Minnesota,
Ah,
she's
this-
from Minnesota.
Yeah.
And-
So I'll
okay,
answer
Minnesota.
that by saying I don't have a lot of people that I look up to. Mentors are great and needed, yes. I don't put anybody on a pedestal. They are all humans, fallible, flawed humans. And one thing that I keep seeing in the Republican Party is it is almost idol worshiping of
I already know who
politicians.
you're going to say. Yeah,
There's multiple people.
yeah.
I will not participate in that. So I look for what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. We don't need to blast that everywhere, but where they're doing wrong, I see why I don't agree with it and how I would do it differently. What they're doing right, I want to learn from them. I want to learn how they got to where they are. I love the psychology behind how people make their decisions, but I don't have an actor that I look to. Like, that's kind of disgusting to me. I don't really get on that train. But I will say it's James Freeman Clark said this quote, and I love it. A politician thinks of the next election. A statesman or patriot thinks of the next generation. That's me. That's absolutely me. I see these people running for a seat to just stay in power, or even a perceived sense of power, like in a non-paid seat. And they're just concerned about staying there. When my concern absolutely is the next generation. And that's not a one topic campaign slogan. It affects everything. Our next legislators and lawmakers will be somebody's kids. And if we don't talk to our kids, we won't have a say in it. And they'll be one generation away from not knowing what their rights are and how to protect them, how to stand up against the land grabs, the smart cities. It affects everything going forward. So absolutely, if you were going to invest in one thing, one platform, it would be how do you preserve my conservative values, or at least how do you get the youth involved for the future of Oklahoma and our country?
That was a great answer.
I love
and
it.
I will say,
And
James Freeman Clark was a madman. He was not a madman. He was an amazing man. I mean, he was fought for civil rights, human rights. He was one of the very few people from I know who James. He was one of the very few people back in the day that didn't own slaves. He really
Cool.
fought for human rights and stuff, and was really conscientious about, like Shelley said, the next generation. I love that. Go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry.
I've never heard that quote, but I loved it. And that was such a good monologue there that we should have saved that one right for the end. We should have put that at the end. That
Never know what's going to happen. It's
that,
okay.
Right,
that would have
right.
capped it off. You never know what Ron's about to say. So
Right. Yeah.
no, that was really good though. James Freeman Clark. So what did he do? I've never heard the person's name.
He was a pastor, wasn't he? A minister or something?
I would say go Google it and research it. And
Yeah, I think he was a minister or a pastor or something like that. But yeah,
Okay.
I've read on him before. He's really good dude. That's a good job. I don't know. People are going to think we worked this out because I know a bunch about him, but he's really a good dude.
So you know what? I'm going to do this for the audience. I actually typed his name into Chat GPT, and I don't know how truthful this is, but I'm just going to post it.
Okay.
The response that it gave. So
Yeah,
I'll
minister.
read that later.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
just like the ecumenical order of Christ, I love reading about new
Jesus,
things
Tim,
that I've never
Jesus.
heard of before.
What is
Whether
wrong
they're
with you in
pastors,
this ecumenical
man,
order shit?
I mean, I'm fascinated by cults. So
I hope one takes you someday.
they very well may. They
You
very well may.
Come
by
back and report to us.
Yeah,
I
come back
will.
and get me. Yeah.
Well, so I was, I was into that group. I didn't believe what they believed, but I was in there, and that's how I got all this information. Like the book that I read about them is not something they share with everybody, because in there, and this is when I really just got the hell out of there, they believed that having sex with children was okay because the goal of life, I guess, was pleasure. And if you're giving pleasure to children, then it's okay. And I read that part and I was like, what do we? Yeah, no,
You didn't want to be the map.
no, I didn't want to be a part of that at all. So, that was the moment I ducked out when I got to that part. But the rest of the story in that group is still interesting either way. But
Shelley, do you know what
Wow.
MAP? You know what the acronym
my
MAP
God.
stands for? I'm sorry, Tim.
I do. And it's something that you thought would never catch
Oh my
hold.
God.
And now it's here, and there's states
Ugh.
pushing. We even have videos of teachers, I don't remember what state, but teachers on videos saying we can't call them pedophiles, we call them minor attracted persons. Like, oh no, we call them pedos. Like always
Yeah.
and forever,
Wow.
they're pedos.
Yeah.
And this is something really important to me, along with criminal justice reform. You know what MAP is, Lane Brown. With my family did foster care for 6 years.
You're right, Denise.
And I've heard a lot of stories. And then with my own family, I had an uncle in another state that died in prison, a pedophile, molested my cousin. And that, I had to grow up quick hearing some of that stuff. And won't defend him at all. And it's one of the things that caused, my family to go down the path we are. My brother's in the police force because of what we saw. We've also, experienced other sides of it with families being accused of something and they can't fight the system, and it just destroys their families. So I'll be in Oklahoma City next month for a press conference specifically on this, with Oklahoma being number 3rd in the nation for child sexual abuse crimes.
Wow.
Number 1 in the nation for domestic violence. And you think, how in the world is Oklahoma 1 and 3?
Wow.
How? And so any awareness we can bring, I said, absolutely. Lady asked me to speak because she knew my passion and background with those 2 areas. And I said, absolutely, anything I can do to support you, get you exposure. I will support any group that's fighting for children.
Let us know about
God.
that. We need to cover that. I had no idea that we were number
That's-
1 and 3. That's crazy.
That's crazy. We need a larger group of BACA or whatever, bikers against child abuse.
Tim, tell her our conspiracy theory about the map.
Yeah, so I created this conspiracy theory. I have no basis with which to say this, but Dora the Explorer has groomed children into loving the map. I'm the map. I'm the map.
That's
I'm
unfortunate.
the map. Yeah. So because we were talking about this.
You
we were
will
talking
never
about
hear
this
that
one
song
day.
again and not think that.
Every time I hear map, minor attracted persons, it makes me think of that song, and I'm like, I need to go back and watch these and see if there's like some kind of like underlying message here where they're trying to convince kids of that.
I'm glad my kids are out of the door phase.
Yeah. Oh man, Dora the Explorer. Oh geez.
Gosh, guys.
Yeah.
When you
No,
can't
it's-
figure it out, you have to go to the map.
Right. It's probably, I'm probably just ridiculous. But
It is. It's just satire. So yeah.
it was wrong. I don't even remember what we were talking about.
You called me and you were like, you showed me a video about somebody saying, I'm a minor attracted person. I'm not a pedophile. I'm like, horseshit, you are. You're
Like, I'm the map. It's like, oh my God, wow, Dora, what were you doing?
Ugh.
That's
Where are you
oh,
going next, Shelley? And how can people go ahead, Tim?
No, you're perfect segue.
Where
to
are
the
you
end.
going? Where are you going next? And where can people meet you, or where can they follow you at? What's all the the websites and all that kind of stuff. Tell us about it.
All the things, yes. Unfortunately, I don't have the easiest last name. It was a package deal with that cute boy I met in high school.
I
So
love
it's
your
what I
last
got.
name.
Gwartney, Gwartney. So you can go to Gwartney2024.com. We do have a Facebook page. There is I'm happy to give my cell phone number out to anybody that wants to talk. I will meet with anybody for coffee that wants to talk. If you want to host an event in your house and invite your neighbors to ask the questions, happy to do that. I've been doing that for a while. I have another one October 1st. We have a couple great speakers coming to that, Mayor Corey Box, and then
I love Corey Box. I love that dude.
So Marquise Dennis is another group. Like I said, I love building bridges and connecting dots for people, especially people doing the hard work of ground game. And Marquise is about fatherhood, about giving dads what they need to take their rightful needed place in the family system to strengthen dads, right? It's your birthright legacy. So it's Birthright Living Legacy is his organization. And I would love to give that a statewide platform if given the chance, or whoever gets in the seat, give that organization, among several others, a statewide platform, and let's get what he's doing everywhere. So he's actually, I'll post about it soon, September 30th. He's doing a Father's Day 2.0 since Father's Day was wrecked by Mother Nature. He's going to have a makeup Father's Day at the park and just celebrate dads, right? It's about celebrating dads and their manhood and what they bring to the family and what we need. We need dads in the family. That's the number one statistically proven factor in a healthy student that makes it through high school and is a successful adult. Did they have a dad in the household? So anything I can do to support groups like his, I will. So he's going to be one of our speakers October 1st, and we're continuing to book big and small groups like that. I would love to talk to any group. A couple of church groups have had me talk. Those are more private things, but if you want to invite me to something, I love the hard questions, so you can bring them on.
You're out there, right?
Awesome.
You're available and accessible.
Yes.
Which
As Ron would say, she's doing the doing.
Yeah, you're doing the doing, and your election won't happen until a year from November. Is that correct?
So the primary is actually my birthday next year. It's June 18th, and I
June
just plan to
18th,
win
nice.
it on that date.
I agree.
There you
let's
go.
do that. But I would love, and Tim, I have to run this by Tim, but I would love to have you on a couple of more times, just to keep us all updated
Some
on what's
updates.
going on with your campaign.
Sounds good. We have a lot more to talk about.
Yes,
All right.
we do. All
Go
right.
ahead,
Well,
Tim.
do you have any last word that you want to impart with everybody?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to introduce myself a little bit and talk about just a few things. It is hard to tell everybody everything I'm about. I have lived a very unique, crazy background story, but I'm thankful for it because it makes me the candidate most perfectly positioned to connect with and represent the biggest demographic of not just my district, but the state. And this is a statewide decision-making seat. It's not a Broken Arrow cheerleader seat, right? It's statewide
Yes,
decisions
yes.
for the future. And we need somebody who knows what the culture is of this current generation. And you can't get that in the next 6 months. Like, you have to be in it. I have 4 kids in it. I'm in the schools. I'm doing the work. I know what the culture is, and you need somebody like that in that seat. So I don't think God wastes any experience. So anything that I've gone through, I trust him that it's been for something like this, that I'm going to use it for other people's benefit.
Awesome.
I would have
Well,
went
Shelley-
with a James Freeman Clark post or quote at the end, but whatever you do, Shelley, that's fine.
Love it.
Whatever.
It was great. It was great. And Shelley, it was a pleasure meeting you, and we're so glad that you came on the
Thank
show.
you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, and we hope to talk to you again. If you want to wait around, we'll catch you in the backstage after the show is over. We'll make it quick.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, man. So I shout out to Shelley. If you know, we put
I
the
can't believe
website
how
up
people
there.
people were watching.
Well, it's
It's
a
Tuesday
popular
afternoon
race.
at 1:00. I mean,
It's
come
a
on.
popular race, and
Oh, that was good. That was a good show.
It was a great show, and props to Shelley for doing what she's doing, and honestly for sitting down with that family.
Yeah, that made me tear up.
It's crazy that nobody, and I never really would have thought of that nobody had reached out to that family to say anything. That's
Crazy.
It's thoughtless.
What? Pull up Lane Brown's last comment real quick.
Let's see. My whole life is random like this.
No,
oh,
Lane Brown.
Lane Brown. Oh, okay.
I got something for you, Lane. Here it
is. We all knew that one was coming. He's going to drink Mountain Dew. Rachel says, and I'm going to get to this, and then we'll cut the show off. I'm always intrigued. Nationalists who are not actually Democrats, who certainly tell a story today if we could hear from them. JFK Jr. and Martin Luther King Jr. So many would be surprised. Those are the two I would listen to if I choose two of a few to hear live time travel.
Oh, yeah, that's a good. Yeah.
And no matter the political stance, we need to support and strengthen dads and moms too. Yeah, and thanks to Shelley, since I'm a dad, I appreciated what she said.
I do,
about the importance of
everybody's
us.
Everybody's about moms and teachers and moms.
Yeah.
And
oh, it's always the moms. What about the dads?
Yeah. All right. It was a good show.
Right. Yeah, thank you everybody for watching, and we will keep you all updated. We've got some other interviews coming. I believe we have Jennifer Harmon coming tomorrow.
Jennifer Harmon's going to be on her tomorrow talking about Vanessa Hall Harper.
And then 2 weeks from there, we'll have Melissa Provenzano.
Melissa.
She'll be on the show as well. So you just follow us on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. That's the Loudmouths, and we'll catch you all next time.
See ya.
All right, peace.